Tobias Toby Lutke is a German-Canadian billionaire entrepreneur, and the founder and CEO of Shopify, a company based in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. Shopify is one of the most incredible technology platforms to be built in the 21st century. In this video, we are going to talk more about the story and the journey of Toby. Whenever someone builds a massively successful business like Shopify, everyone wants to know the secret of how they did it. And Toby has answered this question directly, and he said, "Because I'm a computer programmer, I actually succeeded in this. But looking back, I was saying, I only succeeded in this because I was a computer programmer." Toby Lutke. But I don't think that answer tells the full story. There are plenty of computer programmers who try to build great companies, only to crash and burn. Toby clearly has a different mental model for building companies than most entrepreneurs, and I wanted to know exactly how he thinks, so I studied the history of Shopify and boiled his strategy down to a few key points. In 1980, Toby was born in a small town in Germany. Like lots of other successful technology entrepreneurs, he started playing with computers at a very young age. When he was just 6 years old, his parents gave him this computer. It looks ridiculously old by modern standards, but at the time, it was incredibly versatile. Not only could Toby play games on this thing, but he could use it to program, and that's exactly what he did. By the time he was 11 years old, Toby was hacking games and building his own levels. Lots of tech entrepreneurs fall in love with computers while playing video games as children, but most of them grow out of it and start focusing entirely on business as they get older. Not Toby though, he actually claims that video games taught him more about managing a business than anything else. And his gaming experience will become really important later in this story. By the time Toby turned 17 years old, he was completely obsessed with programming. Instead of preparing for college, he chose to drop out of high school and become an apprentice at one of the leading German tech companies, Siemens. This experience allowed him to develop some really solid programming skills and start making decent money, but he wasn't very happy with the projects he was working on. He was forced to build accounting software for old-school companies using Java, and this just wasn't scratching his itch to work on cutting-edge technologies. But then, he had an idea. He'd been doing a lot of snowboarding in Canada and realized that there weren't really any good online stores selling high-quality snowboarding gear at the time. This was 2004 after all, and Amazon was still pretty small. You could get basic gear at places like Sports Authority, but finding the best gear required a lot of hunting around. So Toby and a snowboarding buddy of his named Scott Lake decided to set up an online store where they could sell their favorite gear. They called it snowdevil.ca, and the site is actually still online today. They have a funny quote in their About Us section that says, "Snow Devil is not your typical snowboard store." Which sounds an awful lot like many of the popular stores on Shopify today. Building this site was not particularly easy though. Toby had to cobble together a bunch of different legacy web technologies in order to get it all to work. He did eventually get the store online, but it was clear that a turnkey solution would have been a much better experience. But then something really important happened. One of Toby's friends told him about a new open-source web project called Ruby on Rails. There was only a small team of developers working on it back in 2004, but Toby saw the potential and started collaborating with the core team. In order to test out what Ruby on Rails could do, and contribute to the ecosystem, Toby built an open-source blogging platform called Typo. This wound up getting over 10,000 installs and becoming really popular in the Rails community. It's funny because, even though Toby now runs a company worth over $100 billion, he still has creator of the Typo weblog engine listed on his LinkedIn profile. With all of this positive experience using Ruby on Rails, Toby decided to rebuild the Snow Devil e-commerce store from scratch. And this was a really crucial moment. Shopify still uses Ruby on Rails today, and by picking Ruby as a programming language and Rails as a web framework, they were able to really accelerate their development for years to come. And this highlights one of Toby's key strengths as an entrepreneur: he's a deeply technical founder. Lots of entrepreneurs learn enough about programming to build a basic minimum viable product and start managing software engineers, but Toby became a true expert in Ruby on Rails before launching Shopify. See, Toby knew that, even though Ruby on Rails could speed up the development time for new e-commerce sites, it wasn't fast enough. Most people who wanted to sell things online didn't want to write any code at all, so Toby pivoted his snowboarding business into what would become Shopify. Toby and his co-founder Scott took all the money they had made selling snowboards, along with some small investments from family members, and started turning their snowboarding website into a proper e-commerce platform. They spent nearly 18 months developing the first version of Shopify, and when they launched it, Toby used an online name generator to come up with the brand name. The company was originally called Jaded Pixel, which, I think we can all agree, is a lot less catchy than Shopify. But that name didn't last very long. Scott had more experience than Toby running businesses and knew that they needed something catchy, so he decided to combine the words simplify and shopping to create Shopify. Amazingly, the domain name was available, so they switched over immediately. Their 2006 launch went fairly smoothly, although Toby and his team didn't really know exactly how big Shopify could get. They delivered a great product that allowed merchants to set up a website quickly, customize a theme, track their orders, and manage their inventory all without writing a single line of code.